for this global announcement.
The internet is a strange place. If you told me that an RPG Maker game from almost 20 years ago still maintains some form of relevance in the modern era, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? RPG Maker didn't exist in the 90s. That hurts to look at. Games made with the program feel like such a product of their time. Back in the early days of YouTube, it felt impossible to go more than an hour without seeing a Let's Play of an RPG Maker game. Some of them were actually extremely quality. You wouldn't guess that a game that looked so simple and not particularly exciting would contain some really great stories. To the Moon is the first one that came to mind for me. The RPG Maker tool still exists today with an active user base, but I'd say that you don't normally find a lot of these games making the rounds in the mainstream. Bro, forgot about Omori. Except for one though. Recently, a game came to my attention purely by chance. You've probably seen this animation floating around in the godless abyss that is social media. It's by a super talented artist called Gobou. They've been making animations with these characters for over 8 years. And after browsing the rest of their videos, I became curious about where exactly these characters are from. The girl in red looked particularly familiar, and then I realized, I saw her years ago in this stupid ass image. So now I had to know. Turns out all of these goofballs are from the RPG Maker game Humaniki, released in 2004 by the sole developer Kikiyama. Somehow, this nearly 20-year-old game has managed to stay relevant even today, while also maintaining a very positive rating on Steam.
Okay.
But how? What about this unassuming indie game is able to resonate with people this long after release? I ain't got much else to do, so I spent a week falling down the rabbit hole that is Humaniki. And after nearly losing my sanity multiple times to this thing, I think I know why this game managed to stick around. Upon booting up the game for the first time, you're greeted with this little tutorial. The premise of the game is simple. You enter a dream world to collect effects, then wake back up to save the game in your dream journal. The game never tells you this, but this eepy little creature is Marotsuki, our protagonist. She seems unwilling or unable to leave her room, so she passes the time by playing video games and escaping reality through sleep, living like a true content creator she is. Once you go blanky mode and drift off to sleep, you're teleported to the dream world, where the real game takes place. Alright, I'm game. I'm sure there's some fun and whimsical dream worlds to explore and play around in. Oh, I'm gonna be licking the walls of the psych ward, aren't I? While the game's premise is simple, actually progressing through the psychosis simulator is anything but. The tutorial we get at the beginning of the game is the only instruction we get for the entire game. We're left to wander through these dreams at our own pace. There's no real way to tell what one of these effects even looks like. You just gotta press the interact button on anything that looks even remotely out of place. While each effect visibly changes Marotsuki's appearance, some also have the ability to affect NPCs or solve puzzles. You do this by pressing 1 while the effect is activated, something the game also doesn't tell you. Most of them, however, serve no practical purpose. It's up to the player to figure out where and when to use these effects. Right now you're probably asking, what's the appeal of this game? Why play it if it's so esoteric and weird? Bro, just please let me speak. Anyway, I thought the same thing. Every time I put the game down for a while, I would feel it pull on me. There's some quality to this game that is inherently addictive, at least for me. I could definitely see why most people would be put off by the game, but I would really urge you to give it a try for yourself and see what I mean. Or at least watch the entire video. I only realized halfway through the game why I was so enamored with it. There's no dialogue, no maps, no objective markers, no pointless RPG elements giving me 0.13% poison resistance on Tuesdays. You just go. The point of the game is to find effects, but it's also just to be lost and confused and visually assaulted. I know a good amount of people watching can remember the good old days of haunted video game creepypastas, and how they infested every corner of the internet. If you've ever wanted to feel like you're actually playing one of those games, then you gotta try Humaniki. Sonic the Hedgehog isn't going to be crying blood while listening to Linkin Park or anything like that, but it strongly gives off vibes similar to something like Petscop. You get the same eerie, abstract feeling while also being completely confused as to what's happening. It's great. There is so much to see in Humaniki. There's 12 dream worlds to explore, each of which can lead to deeper realms that all hide their own effects and secrets. And while there are plenty of places that are definitely off-putting and creepy, there are just as many that have a surreal tranquility to them. I can't believe I'm saying this about a goddamn RPG Maker game, but it's true. Watching as these giant, almost ancient looking images floated in the background gave the feeling that you're experiencing something so alien. And every location is like this too. There's always something to make you just stop and stare for a little bit. These places are huge, and it's always really easy to lose your bearings, so having a walkthrough or the wiki open definitely isn't a bad thing. I will say though, some of the most fun you could have with Humaniki is accidentally stumbling across an effect or finding an entrance to a new location. Like when I found the effect for the first time, that scared the shit out of me. I think there needs to be more games like this. I know this isn't the type of thing that would appeal to a broader audience, but the sense of exploration and confusion is one of the most unique feelings I felt while playing a game. In the current gaming landscape, there's such an abundance of titles that feel the need to hold the player's hand the entire way through. There are so many games that tout exploration as one of their features, but there is barely anything new for the player to find. That's one of the reasons why I've come to absolutely despise maps in video games over the years. How is this anything close to exploration if there's so much marked on every inch of the map? These games will always feel hollow when the actual sense is robbed from the player before they can even properly explore. This is never an issue in Humaniki, however. While yeah, it can be difficult to find anything in this game, especially when the environment looks like a bad ambient trip, being lost is part of the game. And it's this factor that gives Humaniki such an actual sense of discovery, which is one of the reasons why I think it's garnered such a following and maintained interest for such a long time. You never really know what's going to be through the next door, or what kind of crazy characters you'll find there. Speaking of characters, there are a couple. We can find them just kind of existing in their own spaces throughout the world. How and if they contribute to the story is completely up to the player's interpretation. As I said before, there isn't any dialogue. I feel like there are very vague themes and narratives at play here. There's clearly a theme of escapism and isolation. No healthy functioning person stays in their room 24/7. Yeah, I'm looking at you. This is one aspect of Humaniki that I find to be a little frustrating. The amount of storytelling that could be told with this premise is immense, but none of it is really here. Sure, you could say that the player's unique experience and interpretation of the game is more important than whatever narrative the developer could come up with. I would honestly agree with that in a lot of instances. Humaniki's raw, unfiltered experience is one of the best aspects of the game. I just would have liked a little bit more narratively. One thing I will say I dislike about Humaniki though is how much of the events that convey story elements are left up to chance. This is one of the reasons why you might need the wiki or a playthrough open while you play. This is a double-edged sword though. Yeah, having the wiki open will help you through some more difficult parts, but it'll also kind of rob you of some of the surprises the game has once you reach certain areas. Either way, play the game however you see fit. God knows this game is schizo enough to be unique no matter how you play. Humaniki isn't just one game though, it's a whole variety basket of different stuff. While I'm only going to be focusing on the original RPG Maker game and none of the subsequent fan games, there is an official manga to go along with the game. It was written by one of the dudes that makes music for Vocaloid? At this point man, I can't be surprised anymore. This game made my brain leak out of my ears. The manga follows the same lethargic little fella as the game, Madotsuki, and her journey through the dream worlds. While generally following the same structure as the game, what little there is, the manga also heavily expands on the narrative and the characters we meet along the way. It's still kind of bare bones though, there's only like 9 chapters. One of the best things about the manga is being able to see the locations from the game be brought to life in greater detail. I would actually kill to read a full-length manga like this. The surrealist imagery of the game lends itself so well to a more detailed style. There's some truly awesome pages to find in this short little manga. Like I said, the manga expands on the elements from the game in greater depth, and while I want to dive into it deeper, it's gonna get a little heavy from here on, so I'll just throw up a content warning for the next section. The deeper we dive into Madotsuki's dreams, the more context we're given about the strange situation she's been placed in. It seems that she physically can't leave her room, so her only option is to wade through the different dream worlds. It's also kinda confirmed that the world she wakes up to after dreaming isn't reality, as messages seemingly leave themselves in her dream journal. Along the way, she finds and collects the different effects like in the game, but around halfway through the manga, things take a bit of a turn. After meeting one of the in-game characters, Poniko, an event takes place that happens pretty much the same in-game. Poniko seemingly transforms into the monster Uboa, and proceeds to attack Madotsuki. It's here where we get some greater insight as to what might be happening with Madotsuki's home life. After waking up from her traumatic experience, her character becomes way more hateful and violent. After finding the knife effect, Madotsuki takes it upon herself to start killing all the other entities she finds throughout the different doors, her goal being to destroy the dream world and everyone in it. To be completely honest, it does get kinda difficult to decipher what exactly the story is trying to convey in the next couple of chapters. Giving it a play-by-play of what exactly happens won't be of any real help either, I feel. In the end, both the manga and the game share the same conclusion. In the game, Madatsuki seemingly takes her own life. And that's it. We know this isn't exactly as it seems, however, as the manga lets us know that Madatsuki is still dreaming even when she's awake. The act of her taking her own life is more symbolic, I feel, showing how she's ready to stop dreaming and face reality, whatever it may bring. With the open-ended nature of the game's narrative, combined with the abstract concepts displayed through the visuals, there is an endless amount of speculation and interpretation that stems from something like Humaniki. The fact that there could be this much packed into such a small package is pretty remarkable, and I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. The numerous fan games and allusions in other entirely different games are a testament to that, not to mention all the memes I see using music from the game. I know for a fact that I didn't experience everything this game has to offer, so I know I'll inevitably cave in and dive back into the madness. There could be events or characters or even whole locations that I might have missed that could affect how I interpret the story. If that's the case, let me know what I might have missed, or any interpretations you might have for Humaniki. I low-key had a pretty hard time getting my thoughts down for this script. Most of the games I cover tend to be pretty straightforward and easy to sum up and poke fun at. Not this one, man. I can, however, express how happy I am to have discovered this game and its community. If you take anything away from my ramblings today, let it be this. Please don't be afraid to look for good things in unexpected places. I would have never guessed that a 20-year-old RPG Maker game would leave me feeling this way, but here we are. So get out there, give Humaniki a shot, and let yourself slide down the rabbit hole. Just don't forget to pinch your cheek every now and then. Thanks for watching.
Say, bro, why you ain't accept my friend request, bro? What, you don't want to be my friend?